East Carolina at Michigan at the Big House, which will be a maze out game. And Michigan is favored by, so it's kind of fluctuated. The most recent article, I think it was 36.5, then it was 36. I think now it's 35.5. So East Carolina is inching forward, and maybe we have upset potential, but probably not. Let me run down what's happening in this game. First of all, obviously, like we said before, Jesse Minter will be head coach. That doesn't mean Harbaugh won't be coaching out of the game, because he will be head coaching every day leading up until the game. He's just not coaching the actual game itself. Jesse Minter is. The play caller is going to be Kirk Campbell, who did call plays at Old Dominion in 2020, 2021. And because Kirk Campbell is the QB coach, I would expect to see the pass game used heavily in the first half. And nobody thinks that's going to happen. Everybody thinks that they're going to run the ball. But remember, they made the mistake last year of not passing the ball enough. And then it didn't gel until the Ohio State game. And really, that was, I think, more Knowles' fault than it was anything else. And his scheme just he didn't make good decisions. But it took that long, really, for the pass game to gel. And then it did. Ohio State, Purdue, and you could say what you want about TCU, but there were moments in that game where the passing game was working, and they came back from a big deficit to almost win the game. I say almost, but still, those final 3 games, the pass game was working. So I think they're going to do the pass. A couple of people are out. So as you can imagine, with this almost being a preseason game, the returning starters, Rod Moore and Makari Page, are both questionable, and I would argue they're going to sit out. And therefore, you're looking at Keon Sabb as safety, potentially. Apparently, Keon Sabb, Harbaugh has said some great things about how he's done last year on special teams. He didn't think that they played him enough. He was the 84 overall prospect in 2022. Number 9 in all safeties. Zeke Berry could be the opposite safety. So both of them I would look out for. Will Johnson is another one who's probably going to be kept out, I think, in the first game. I don't know for sure, but that's what I'm hearing, which means Josh Wallace from UMass is going to be one of the cornerbacks, and then the opposite could be Jaden McBurrows, Jair Hill, or Keyshawn Harris. We have not heard Amarian Walker's name. Minter did not mention him, and I don't think he's doing that well. He didn't do very well in the spring game. He clearly wasn't mentioned as one of the ones. So I would expect Josh Wallace and Jaden McBurrows to be the cornerbacks in the first game. Also, Tyler Morris and Peyton O'Leary are injured. Now that isn't as crazy impactful, because you've still got Cornelius Johnson, Roman Wilson, and then the other one could be Carmelo English, Frederick Moore. There's a couple of different options. Christian Dixon. So just because those two are out, I think you've got some pretty solid, wideouts to take over. But clearly, there's going to be some pieces out. This is about as close to a preseason game as you get in college football, because you've got an interim head coach, you've got an interim OC, you've got about 5-6 key players out. JJ McCarthy's probably going to get benched because they're up by so much, and then you'll get to see who the backup is. The reason also, Buckeye Mike, that I think that they're going to throw a lot is because the Pirates, the East Carolina Pirates, their pass defense, even when they had all their people, wasn't very good last year. This year, they've lost a bunch of people. I would actually say they're gonna watch film on East Carolina and study East Carolina, and they're gonna air it out, because they know that they can air it out for lots of yards and just basically practice backyard pitch and catch. The quarterback is Mason Garcia. He's a former 4-star. And they did lose their starter that they had for years, but Garcia is 6'5". He can throw the football, and Garcia is going to have to play the game of his entire life in order to win against Michigan. And Michigan's going to have to sleepwalk. They're going to have to be like they were against TCU, but even worse, because that's the only way I see East Carolina coming into the Big House and pulling the biggest upset since App State.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at this game, first of all, I think 36 is way too much.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a betting man, take ECU to cover, take Michigan to win, and actually take ECU to cover and take the over, because the over under is 51.5. I've been hyping up ECU a lot.
I know you have.
Of the NC State game last year. But the difference is Michigan's not NC State.
And East Carolina loses a lot of players from that from the people who are playing in that game.
Yeah,
they lose their quarterback. They lose players on both sides of the ball. Michigan's returning. It was 81. I think they revised it to like 78% returning production. It's a lot of returning production.
Yeah. But, to your point, I think Michigan will get a comfortable enough lead to bench the starters. You should. Shit, if it was me, I'd bench them after the first quarter. I don't care what the score. As long as the score's not 0-0 and ECU's defense is like punching Michigan in the mouth, I would bench the starters no matter what. Because I think coming out of the first, I think it's going to be at least 14-0 or something like that.
Blake Corum's probably out after the first touchdown. He's going to get an appearance, but Donovan Edwards is most likely going to be the primary back, along with I'm actually hearing that Khalil Mullings has solidified, or at least is ahead for the third running back slot, which I thought was going to be Ben Hall based on his performance in the spring game, but apparently he's doing very well in practice, and so that's a Khalil Mullings being the third string. It was I think it was Zach Smith. Somebody said, when you're thinking of your running backs and who you want in that third position, because you guys have this situation where who's going to be the second string and the third string running back as well, and like, is it going to be Chip Tranum or is it going to be Dallin Hayden, and who brings something unique to the table in that third position? And I think Zach was the one who said Hayden, can bring something unique into that third position, whereas Chip is like another version of Mayan Williams, just faster, but he doesn't run as hard. So like the same as like basically Khalil Mullings brings something different that the other two don't. Well, I mean, Blake kind of does, but he has that barrel it in, mentality where he can get you that yard, like hammering Panda, almost like a fullback-esque running back three.
Right.
And then Ben Hall's still going to be, I mean, you're going to see Ben Hall in this game. You will in the second half. And he's probably going to run for a lot of yards in the second half. So I think Michigan's going to win comfortably. Again, prediction for next episode, I'll go back to my predictions from Big Ten Live, but just go back and watch that. And I made predictions on every single Big Ten game that had at least one Big Ten team. And so did everybody on that panel, including yourself, because you were on for a bit too.
Yeah. Speaking of that, I actually just did a video a little bit ago.
There you go.
On the rest of the games, and I actually excluded these two so that I could be more specific on here, but that's just me. But yes, so I do think once you pull the starters and you get down to the third strings, because I'm pretty sure, you're going to get to that point. But like I said, ECU will cover and take the over. I think it's just because it's the first game, once you get comfortably ahead, everything kind of just slows down. So I don't think it's going to be anything like this. But I do still say Michigan wins. I think Michigan wins 38-20.
Oh. Yeah, if I recall correctly, I had a similar prediction because I believe that Michigan will comfortably win, but ECU is going to be a tougher opponent than people think. They're definitely the toughest of the three cream puffs,
Oh yeah,
with without a doubt. But they lose a lot of talent, so Michigan's going to win pretty comfortably. And I think what you're going to see is they're going to be ahead by maybe 28 to nothing in the after the first half, and then they bench the starters. ECU starts to pull in. Michigan probably scores another one or two times, but I think I predicted that ECU would get at least a couple of points. Maybe that prediction isn't far off because yeah, second half anything can happen when you bench the starters.
absolutely. And so